Craig Goldblatt is one of our members, has been for about 6 months or more now. I said to him, how would you describe yourself once? He said, what was it? I'm energy, I'm love, and I'm full of purpose. I think those were his words. And you will, the next 15 minutes, you're going to feel that energy. You're going to understand what that love is, and you are definitely going to know a bit more about purpose than you did before. So, over to you, Craig.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Jill, for having me here. And thank you, Matt, for that great question. I came in there and I was in Jill's group and she hit me with that question. So well, that really made me think about freedom. So I have about 15 minutes with you guys. Is that correct? Okay, fantastic. So in essence, purpose to me, the real essence of purpose is a lifetime journey. So within 15 minutes, what I thought I'd do that would probably be far more advantageous for you guys than to look at our deep sense of purpose within 15 minutes is to look at what sits behind purpose for me. And the foundation of our internal world to me is our belief systems. And everything that we experience in our life, my belief is everything that we experience in our life, both internally and externally, manifests itself through our belief system, what we believe to be true. And this, of course, was born through our genetics and our environment and our parents and our ecology. So we may have been born with a set of beliefs, who knows? But what I do know to be true is that as children, we're heavily conditioned to take on certain beliefs from other people, yes or no. So when we're a youngster, we take on lots of rules and lots of cultural diversity about what our teachers share with us and what our parents share with us and what our friends then share with us. And we start to form beliefs. So I thought it would be great to just spend a few minutes this afternoon to look at what I call the circle of belief. And this I love to work with people on for several hours. And I'm going to do my best to give you a highlights of this element for about the next 10 minutes. So the question that I'd love to pose to this exercise is, how do we create a belief in our life? Or how do we change a belief? So if we've had a belief that we're not good enough for many, many, many years, how do we change that belief from I'm not good enough, or I'm too fat, or I'm too thin, or I'm too tall or too small, or I'm too poor, or I'm not fast enough at running? How do we change that belief from that limiting belief to more of an empowering belief? So when I was very fortunate in my early 30s to study a little bit of neuroscience and NLP, as so many of us have. And so I'm going to give you a process, if you like, that I feel is powerful to be able to rewire our belief system. And so step one in this process is for me to understand that in our bodies, we have 30 trillion cells. Each cell is filled with atoms, and inside those atoms is subatomic particles, packets of energy. And those cells are dynamic. In other words, when we started this great event this afternoon, we had certain cells in our thumb that are no longer there. And we've been sharing with our external environment cells and receiving lots more cells. But in essence, we have about 30 trillion cells in our body, and those cells are always evolving. And we are not 30 or 40 years old. We're over 200,000 years old. So your body, sometimes I know it feels like it, but your body is 200,000 years old. And that's the wisdom that you have internally in your cellular makeup. So you are always evolving. And with that evolution, your beliefs change. So you can smile at somebody in the bus stop, and that adds to your neurological makeup. So in other words, just so we know that we're always changing and always growing and we're always evolving. So the foundation of everything that we do is that we're evolving. And the reason why that's important at a purpose level is because some people think that their lives don't matter. But when you give somebody a smile or a hug, at a cellular level, that is adding to their evolution and the evolution of everybody that they then share their day with. So every interaction you have energetically with this planet throughout the rest of your life is having a profound effect in some way in certain cells within that person's body. And therefore, if that's cumulative, it makes an impact not only on their belief systems, but on their emotional legacy, their blueprint. And so to understand that everything that we do, when we deliver it with a purpose of love, is affecting the planet. It just is. This is not woo-woo, this is science. Your cells are impacting through evolution every single minute of your life. So that's the first thing for us to understand. Now, as we evolve, what changes our map in our brain is what we call an experience. So what changes human beings the most is what they experience. Now, those experiences are fundamentally created through our five senses: what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we smell, and what we taste. And we experience the outside and internal world as a filter through those senses. So we're having a sensory experience by talking to somebody. When we were with Matt this afternoon, earlier, everybody's with him, you're having a sensory experience about what the guy's sharing. What you're seeing in your mind's eye with what Matt's saying, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. Same with Jill. We're all having this sensory experience. Now, in between our evolution and our experience, there are three major things that you can do to help yourself, I believe. The first thing is, when between evolution and the next experience we're going to have in 10 minutes, the more present we are and aware of everything that's going on around us as much as we can be, changes the quality of the experience. So if we walk past a flower and not look at it, we've missed it. So if we were to meditate every morning and create a sense of presence and awareness at an extra 1% a day or whatever it is, then that impacts our cellular awareness and therefore impacts our internal experience. So that's the first thing I'd say about experiences. We experience more when we're present. The second is to have sensory awareness. So when we want to listen, sometimes if you shut off your eyes or you really listen with your heart, then as you engage your physiological makeup and you choose to listen and say, I'm going to listen with my heart, tell your body to do that before you have a deep conversation with somebody, and be there with your heart as you listen. It adds growth to that experience of that conversation. So your sensory awareness and your presence is important. The third thing that changes the quality of the experience you're about to have is choosing your environment. Because, can you still hear me? Okay. So if you go to the pub, or we go to the football field, or we go to the gym, or we go and, I don't know, take some drugs, we're going to have that environment is going to impact our cellular makeup greatly. So it's a very obvious point, but who we spend our life with, as our friend Tony Robbins used to say, is who we become. So the quality of our experience depends mostly on our sense of presence, our sensory awareness, and choosing the right environment. So that's the first thing. Once we've had an experience, be it traumatic or wonderful, magical, we have both in our lives. When we have an experience, that experience takes us to a place called thought. Every experience creates a thought. Every experience, no matter how big or small. You have three brains in here. You have a conscious mind, an analytical mind, and a subconscious mind. Analytical mind is the filter between the two. Your subconscious mind is computing 3 million pieces of information every second. So your mind is pretty advanced. Your subconscious mind is very advanced. And what's happening is you're having 60,000 thoughts every day on average if you're over 35 years of age. And 90% of those thoughts are very similar to that of yesterday, they tell us in neuroscience. So as we get to 35 years of age, we have to have a dynamic thought, a new thought, to be able to make an impact in our subconscious mind. based on what we've been conditioned from over many, many years. Now, when we have those thoughts, when you have an original thought or a powerful or creative thought, if I said to you, think of a blue elephant riding on a donkey. You've never probably had that thought before. So now what's happened is you've created a new neuro pathway in your brain, a thin blue line, and neurons, very special learning cells, come and play on that neuro pathway. And the more you have that thought over and over again, the thicker the neuro pathway becomes, and it becomes like a motorway. And then new learning cells, billions of these cells, come and play on the new thought. And they look through synapses for similar thoughts you used to have, which means if you're saying every day that I'm not enough and life is shit, if you say that over and over again, it becomes a primary thought, and that neuro pathway over years grows. And guess what that thought becomes then? It becomes a belief. When you have what we call a primary thought over and over and over and over and over and over again, the pathway thickens and it forms a racetrack in our brain, and it connects to other big pathways that have similar thoughts, and it becomes a belief. So our thoughts are very powerful neurologically. They create our beliefs. So some people think, oh, it doesn't matter if I think this way, it's not really affecting me. But our thoughts become things mainly because it's neurological. In other words, it's science. Is if you have a thought over and over again, it physically grows inside your brain. And so there are 3 ways I wanted to share with you how you can impact your thoughts. When you have an experience, before you start looping that thought, you have to become curious about the quality of your thought. So childlike curiosity impacts the quality of that thought. Even if you've had a really horrible experience, if you can rewire that in a way by seeing it from a different person's perspective, or seeing it as through your child eyes, or seeing it as an opportunity to go, or a creative way, rather than just what it used to be 5 years ago in your brain, if you can get creative and curious, it changes the map of your actual thought. So it's so amazing. Einstein said imagination is more powerful than knowledge. So the more that you take an experience and then imagine it to be even better, imagine it to be different, it directly impacts the quality of your thought. So your childlike curiosity and your imagination and your creativity, after you've had an experience, if somebody's just said something horrible to you, if you've just had an experience, somebody's just been really horrid to you, if you take that as a past belief that that person's an asshole because they were an asshole last month, and you don't become creative or fill your chemistry in your brain with a way in which to be able to see that with curiosity and imagination and empathy, then you're going to grow that neuro pathway that everybody's an asshole. So the importance here is between experience and when you have a horrible experience or a great experience, you need to be curious. That's the key. So when I was in sales for 10 years, great sales bosses used to say to me, when you get a sale, don't celebrate until you've worked out what can be better. And they're absolutely right. So your thoughts that you have, these 60,000 thoughts a day, once you're having the thoughts, which we can impact, but not in the moment that you're having the thought, before, as you condition yourself every day and become more and more curious, it impacts your thoughts tomorrow. So as you're starting to change your pattern of thoughts through your curiosity and choosing your environment, and to be able to have that childlike energy and passion and empathy and utilize your values through this, then what you're doing is you're directly impacting your beliefs, because your thoughts become beliefs. That's all they are. Your beliefs are the truth of your thoughts. So it's a direct comparison, if you like. So as you have more thoughts, your brain just decides that that's the truth. Because what it has from its internal dialogue is your thoughts. That's all your brain has to go on. And so as you start having your beliefs, once you have this certain belief and you start to look at challenging your beliefs, if you were to sit down and say, I've always thought that I'm overweight, or I've always thought that I'm not good enough, or I always thought that why is everybody better than me? Or I always thought that I can't get enough money. And that's my belief. If I choose to have that belief now and want to change it before I keep taking action on that and go and take more drugs because I'm no good. So in between beliefs and action. So I've got 5 things here: evolution, number 1, experience, number 2, thought, number 3, beliefs, number 4, action, number 5. So I'm nearly done, Jill. So if evolution, experience, then thought, then beliefs. Now your beliefs create actions. So your behavior is based purely on what you believe to be true. In between your beliefs and your actions is your values. So when you have a set of beliefs, what can impact that is value-based feedback. And that comes from who we spend our time with. It comes from asking different qualities of questions. It comes from looking at our values and being able, as Matt says, to take big enough risks to be able to turn around and say, I deserve to change my actions. So when you have a set of beliefs, what really changes those beliefs is 2 things neurologically, by the way. So after you've had a set of beliefs, there's only 2 things that can change that pattern of behavior: intensity or trauma. Okay, now the basis of changing that is our values. The foundation of this work is our values. But what changes this neurologically is our chemistry. And our chemistry gets impacted by 2 things: either a traumatic experience that changes our behavior. If a rugby player is eating 3 bacon sarnies a day and has a heart attack, his value of health starts getting him to eat salads because he wants to live another 20 years. So at the foundation of him stopping bacon sandwiches after he's had a traumatic heart attack is his health. So we have to look at when we have, if you create intense experiences, which goes round a loop again, if you create an intense experience with your friends or what have you, after you've had a belief system, like you're eating really badly, somebody gives you a shock and takes you and shows you a video of open heart surgery, that will impact your values. It has to be intense. When we're an adult, to change your beliefs between beliefs and actions, it has to be intense. It can't be like, you need to change. You're not going to change that way. So you've been living that way for 40 years. You're not going to change with a little chat. You're going to change with trauma or intensity. And what that does, providing we can then have that intense experience and use our values with our friends or our coach or our mentor to be able to look at how our life could be different intensively. And then we can condition ourselves daily to be able to take some action. So that's a whistle-stop tour, probably talking too fast, of what fundamentally for me changes our pathways in our brain to be able to change our beliefs and improve the quality of our actions. So all of this work sits behind purpose. So it's kind of, for me, the start of the mechanics that sits behind our sense of purpose in our life and our intent for us and the people that we love. So thanks, Jill. That's I don't know how long that is, but hope that was valuable.
You nailed it. Thank you very much. Well, I've written loads. It's really interesting. I love it when you unpack things like that. And yes, it was a whistle-stop tour. So I hope people were making notes and we'll go back and revisit. And of course, if you want to drop links to your workshop and or your LinkedIn, please do. And people can carry on the conversation with you, because there was an awful lot of content in there. And some people are going to be like, what?
Yeah, bit too much content, Craig.
But I'm hoping there's an awful lot of people in the audience that go, yeah, I get that. I know that. So there's an awful lot of people that will be good to have it revisited. So thank you. A little round of applause. for Mr. Goldblatt there.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you for having me. I'll just
Right.
get the link. I'll get a little link.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm just going to